On today's special episode of Homeworthy, we're bringing you inside 4 extraordinary Parisian homes where art, design, and personal expression intertwine to create spaces as inspiring as the city itself. First, we'll visit a chic apartment brimming with hand-painted porcelain and layers of color. Then, across town, an interior designer's fabulous pied-à-terre welcomes us with bold mirrors, playful symmetry, and a spirited mix of antiques and architectural elegance. Next, we'll retreat into a serene haven that feels like the French countryside, right in the heart of Paris, complete with vintage books, beloved objects, and a deep connection to nature. And finally, we'll step inside a sleek, contemporary apartment where sculptural furnishings, statement ceramics, and a remarkable art collection bring movement, meaning, and imagination to life. This summer, Homeworthy is proud to support the nonprofit Serious Fun.
Hey volunteers! We need you! To give kids living with serious illnesses a chance to go to camp, just like any other kid. And always at no charge. But we can't do it without you.
People talk about the magic of camp, but the magic is created by the people.
At Serious Fun Camps, no matter what you do best, there's a job you can do here to make memories that will last a lifetime.
It's magical, and it will be the best decision you make to get involved.
On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're bringing you inside the chic Parisian apartment of iconic tabletop designer Marie Dage. Fascinated by color and pattern, Marie's home is an extension of her world-renowned hand-painted porcelain collections. Sophisticated, luxurious, and cool. Enjoy this special episode presented by Homeworthy and Marie Dage. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hello, I'm Marie Dage. Welcome, bonjour, bienvenue. Welcome to my home in Paris. Hello, welcome at my house. I am Marie Dage, designer for tabletop since 30 years. You are here in my apartment in Paris. We are in the 8th arrondissement, really in the middle of Paris, in this very famous Haussmannian part of the town. So I have a big family. I have 6 children. So this was a family house and also my work house, because I had a showroom here. So we used to be 8 people living here. Today my children are grown up and I just have my husband and 1 boy with us. And then the other one are coming from time to time. So the building is from the 1870. So it's a very lovely building en pied-à-terre, we say. We are here on the 4th floor, which is, I think, very nice because we are in the sky and I have the view on the toit of Paris. And I have a lovely view on when I am on the balcony, because on the 4th floor you have the balcony running along the apartment, which for me is nice because for me it's like having a little garden and having not being in the street. You know, it maintains you a little privacy outside, which is luxury in Paris. And when I am on my balcony, I have a wonderful view on the left on the dome of the church Saint-Augustin, which is a little bit like a Roman view, because it's the highest dome of Paris. So the story of Marie Dage was really an improvisation, and it grew up with my family. I started to do porcelain when 30 years ago. I had some lessons with friends and I never had imagined that one day it could become a job and a company like it is today. During all my childhood, in fact, decoration, table art was really in the center of the family atmosphere. And so very naturally, when I started to paint porcelain, I jumped in the thing. And for me, it was not only painting some patterns, but it was also bringing a whole lifestyle, which is the French identity of l'art de vivre à la française, table art. Okay, so welcome here in my foyer. So as you see, right at the beginning, you have my identity. I am a stripe lover. So all around the place, you are welcomed by these stripes, black and white, which allows me to put lots of different color because everything is matching with black and white. Here, my wishes was also to enlarge the space. So as you will see a lot around my house, I love to play with mirrors. Initially, you had this little niche, which is a beautiful niche, very Haussmannian, with this interesting work of wood. And on the top also you see the branches. It's a very beautiful Haussmannian work, and there was already this mirror. I just put it some lamps to make a little bit of dramatic decor. Here I put my bird. I'm also a bird lover. It's a bird from Brazil, which is welcoming you in the house. And on the other side, I create this mirror which goes from the top to down, so that it's like a little trompe-l'œil. We have the impression that the flat is going. You have the reflection of the two mirrors, which is interesting. I painted in this blue-black, not completely black, but always this subtle tone, and with this commode in front. This is a sculpture of a very dear friend, Marine Darcourt. You will find some other one in the rest of the house. A lot of art pieces are pieces made by friends. I love to be surrounded with what my dear friends are doing, beautiful things. Here my little goblet, which is used as a perfume candle, because I have 3 fragrances, all made in grass. I think it's important when you arrive in a place, you have the colors, but you have also the smell. I mean, all your sense must be attractive, the eye. I love to put music, so when you arrive, you will have the eyes with the stripes, the music, and a little bit of perfume welcoming you. So here we have 2 chairs, Austrian chairs, Biedermeier, very typical, with this black little detail. It comes from my grandmother. Something a little bit surprising here, which shouldn't be here, it's this huge picture, this huge tableau. In fact, we just bought it in auction. It's the grandfather of my husband, which was a famous painter, and it was done for an exhibition in the 19th century. So this is here, but this should go in my country house. It's a little bit big here in Paris. To stay in the paintings, here we have some view of the sea. This we find it in the attic, in the countryside, and in fact it's made by a quite famous painter, so it was really a lovely discover in the attic. On the other side I have 2 paintings of trains, which were made by another grandfather of my husband, so it was quite an artistic family. Here you see the window, the light is coming from this very, very lovely stained glass, which is a typical Haussmannian part of piece that you will always find in the entrance of a house, which is lovely turquoise and champagne color pattern. I think it brings really a lovely color inside. And in the night, I have some lights so that when you arrive, you really have this like a picture. It's very beautiful in the evening. Here, some plant green, because that's also typical from the 19th century. In all these apartments, you would always have these exotic trees. They were fascinated by exotism in the 19th century. On the floor, I have this carpet, black and white, which is from the 50s, coming from the Galerie Yves Gastou, which was really the man who brings the 50s update and famous. So this is my entrance. What I love in my job is that it's combining workcraft, handcraft work, and thanks this technique that I'm really maintaining, which is a hand-painted porcelain. This is something which is disappearing today. I think we are the only one still doing 100% free hand-painted porcelain. And so it's very exciting to maintain this tradition and to be, to be the one who will keep this alive. When I arrived in Limoges, trying to find people who can paint with me, for me, because I was painting alone, and at the end it was too much. I was painting day and night, it was crazy. I arrived in some little atelier and they were all closing because there were no business anymore on hand-painted porcelain. So for me, it's really very exciting to think that I maintain this tradition. The other thing which is very nice with table art is that it's something which has something to do with entertaining, with being together, with sharing, you see. So it's not only decoration like curtains or sofa, it's really dressing a table and being part of this important time of the life. I think in life, all important moments like meeting someone, introducing your fiancé to your family, enjoying because you have a successful year. So with all your colleagues, you are going to organize a dinner. And in the historical part, all the wars, all the weddings between queens, everything was around a table. It was a diplomatic way of showing your power, and it's a nice way also to share and to say to your family, you are important for me and I'm going to spend time dressing a lovely table. From the entrance, I will bring you to a very important room for me, because this is a room where I spent during 20 years 80% of my time. I mean, this is my office showroom, which is really a room. It was very important when I decided to buy this flat, because I was looking for a space where I could work by being also at the same time in my house. This room used to be the historical dining room of the house. It's very typical again, Haussmannian. The decoration of the ceiling, of the walls, of the chimney is a typical Renaissance inspiration of the, let's say, the Loire Castle Valley style, with this ceiling in caisson, we'll say, and this very amazing chimney, wooden chimney, a little bit crazy, completely oversized, I think. But I love it, and we are the only one in the whole building still having this chimney. So it's really a historical piece. Also very typical from the traditional dining rooms in the Haussmannian style is a bow window. Because in the dining rooms you always had a bow window where they used to put some a little bit like a green garden. I think in the 19th they put in these plants. So for us it was of course fabulous to have this, because this used to be the showroom. We were also doing some shootings, so the lighting here is fantastic. So as you see here, the walls, I have dared to do them in gold. it was important for me to find a warm color. I hate boring things, so I wouldn't have done it in gray or white, of course. But I needed something which would quite neutral and which could rise up all my palette of colors. So gold was ideal. And I choose here this lovely gold fabric to separate this part of the room with the other part where I have a little oven to experiment my colors. It's my little technical place beside. So here all around the walls you have these shelves where I used to put all my new collection. This was the space where I have my clients coming. The parquet, the wooden parquet, I painted it in black, again to have something quite neutral. So here it's really a play with black, white and gold. You see here you have the heaters which are hide in this boiserie, black. I did the black frame here. And black, of course, all the iron étagère for my porcelain. Here, briefly, I can explain you my concept, which is quite easy to understand here. On the table, you see lots of colors. This is my palette. I have 68 colors that I all create myself. It's really like creating a perfume by mixing some colors. Sometimes there are 8-10 colors for one color. And beside I have my little oven where I taste my colors, because colors can change after being heated. So this is really a work like creating a perfume. So the way it works, my concept is you have 68 colors and 90 collection, 230 different patterns. Here I have illustrated all my plates in only 3 very neutral colors. So this is the way to work. Choose your pattern, choose your colors, and you create your own set. That's all about mariage. It's really to be able to have completely bespoke sets. So, in fact, you see here, what I have done is that I have chosen always, you can see all the plates are the same color. It's really to explain the concept. All the plates here are done in 3 colors, neutral colors, 2 shades of blue and gray. For instance, when you look at a plate like this, you see, you have navy, dark blue, light blue, and some gray lines. This means that you can choose 3 colors. And so this plate can become a plate like this. So here, what I have done is that I have chosen some pink, some green, and some gold. And it gives me a plate like this. This plate could be like this. Here, my client, you have chosen some orange, some celadon, and some brown. So depending on the fabrics, on the style of the house, I will really make exactly bespoke collections for the client, which is fantastic because it allows everyone to become very creative. That's why my designers love to work with us, because they can offer to the client something so much personalized. It's really so important. And so you have your own set matching to your house, which is something that you couldn't have if it was printed. You see this plate, for instance, again, 3 colors have been chosen. We have chosen some green, we have chosen some blue, and we have light up the middle with some red. This could be in gray and black, and the look will be completely different. So there are as many possibilities as your imagination could imagine. And I love when it's a little bit borderline. So this concept allows to do some very daring sets, because they are all individual. So it's great, it's fun. So here we are in the sitting room. Sitting room is looking in the roads, and you have the balcony all along the flat. This room used to be a double room. Here, when I arrived, there was a hall here. So you could go in the other room, and there were these two double doors on both sides, which was a little bit strange. I think that historically here there was a glass door, but which has disappeared. So I decided to put this big mirror. It's a traditional way of doing mirrors in mercure. That's why you have all these little spots, but it makes it more interesting, and it's a nice link with the old mirrors which used to be already in the flat on top of all chimneys. So here, this mirror, traditional mirror, it's part of the building, so 1870. I didn't change anything. It was gold like this with this interesting grey painting around. So you see a lovely wooden work all around the mirror. As we are in the ceiling, one thing which I loved also a lot in this apartment is the sophistication of the work of stuffo, we say. You see on the ceiling there are all these volute plaster work, which is again really the Haussmannian style, and on the top of all the doors also a very beautiful work of flowers and branches. I try to really rise them up by leaving all this framing of the doors in white. As the walls, I choose this color which I create. I spent quite a lot of time trying to find this color because I didn't want that it becomes palm or brown. So it's a mix of lots of different colors that I create, in fact. It's a kind of, we call it marron glacé. Very often when I try to find a color for my walls, I go from my palette of colors. So this would be my color number 14, because all my colors have got some numbers, which is marron glacé. And I like very much this color because it allows you everything around. You can put pastel colors, dark pastel colors. It always works. It's a very easygoing background color. So in this room, you will find thousands of different colors. So I really dare to mix everything because I think as long as the colors are subtle and interesting, you can mix them as many as you want. As I'm here, beside the chimney, I decided to do these two banquettes, which can be open, so you can put lots of books inside, magazines, and I did these pillows in this canvas fabric with very shocking pinks, which will in fact quite contrast with, you will see, for instance, my carpet, which is not at all the same family of colors. But it doesn't matter. As long as the color is beautiful, it will be okay. You see here you have very feminine and shocking pinks color. And in fact, my carpet has much more brown, burgundy, more masculine colors. But it works. It's a beautiful work of iron. It's Irish iron carpet, and as it's handmade, you have very subtle tones, which allows to make the link with more shocking colors. For the sofa, I have these two enormous sofas. You can sit inside and you can read and you fall asleep very quickly because it's so comfortable that it's like being in a bed with all the feathers. The table is very big. I like when you have a very generous table because sometimes also you may have some little spontaneous little dinners. This is a table that I have since 30 years. I made it done, it's in iron. And when we are young married, in our little flat, we had already this huge table and we didn't have any dining room. So we used to have our dining sitting on the floor and being around this table. It was our dining table. It's modern, it's simple, so it can be really mixed with all my more traditional furniture. Here you have two Louis XV bergères. As you see, the fabric's completely different, but it doesn't matter, it mixes. This is coming from Istanbul, some are coming from India. This is a pied-à-terre one, it's an inspiration of this Uzbek pattern. So it's always, I like when I travel to bring back some little souvenirs so that when I'm in my house, I keep on traveling. In front of the chimney, you have these two little poof, which I love, very convenient when you have a dinner, when you are entertaining, because you can sit like this, you can sit like that, you can bring your poof and have a conversation on the side. I hate when there is a big circle and only this big huge circle. I like when you can move around and have some conversation all around the room. This is a beautiful sculpture from Chic. I bought it in auction. I love auctions. So I like auctions because you go there and you never know what you are going to bring back. Sometimes it can be some birds or a chair or a lamp. This time it was this woman which is, protecting her from the wind. I think she's very feminine. My auction passion comes from my childhood. My mother loved antiques and I spent a lot of time with her every time we were coming to France in auction. It was in Orléans, in Paris, and I remember the excitement of doing this and saying, shall we get the thing or shall we not get the thing? And it was so fun because you never know really what you are going to have at the end of the day. So this is fun, and also I love antiques because my mother in Martinique was, I think, the first woman who get interested in colonial furniture. The English island had a lot of beautiful furniture, but the French one, people were not interested anymore in colonial furniture. So she used to go to Barbados, to Domingo, and to buy some completely broken things sometimes and to bring them back to Martinique and to have them restored. So all my childhood, I was following her and going to this man who was restoring the furniture. So really, old furniture is also part of my childhood. On both sides of the chimney, you have these two tempera, which are stones. In fact, it was painted in the US. It's a friend, Arnaud Donnet, who did these two paintings. I like these white shades that they bring and this warm atmosphere they bring, and very nearly abstract. Here, another bronze work from my dearest friend Marine Gallo, the same as the one in the entrance. So this idea of being surrounded by friends. So for the curtains, I love this silk color, green, gold, which can be really a good link with all the colors of the room. I want to show you really these details of the windows because these are really very, very beautiful work in bronze that you don't find anymore in all Haussmannian flats. So this is really something also which attracted me a lot when I saw this. And I keep the gold here, and here it's painted in what we call cul de canon. It was really the way to do it in black like this. Moving a little bit more here, I like also very much finding pieces and reinterpreting them. So these were very simple vases that I transformed as a lamp with these branches that I painted in orange to give the impression of coral. So it was a funny way to create some lamps. The orange is linked with this lovely photo, which is also a piece of art made by a friend. And here a little bit of ethnic remember of some African travels that we did with my husband. So I like when it's sophisticated, but not too sophisticated that you think, oh, I'm not daring to sit on this seat, I'm not daring to touch because it's also perfect. It has to be spontaneous, cool, and like it's obvious. It's beautiful, but it's everyday life, and we live with beautiful things, and we deserve it, and we don't have to be scared of that. It's the same thing with my porcelain. I always say to people, don't keep your lovely porcelain in the cupboard. Use them. You deserve to use it. Life should be with beautiful things, and like a flower bouquet. You don't need to have a huge flower bouquet with very sophisticated flowers. Just go in the garden, just go in the countryside and cut some flowers next to the road, some wild flowers. Take some wild leaves from the trees and put them in a bouquet, and that would be the most beautiful bouquet. Don't need to go to the very expensive flower shop. So here we come back to my mirror. These two huge trees are in iron. I bought them in a salon. I thought I would put them on the chimney because it was in a big hall. I didn't have any idea that they were so big. When I arrived here, I thought, oh, they're not going to be on the chimney, they're going to be on the floor. But it's like a green garden. And here, a painting of my husband. He's very proud of his painting. Here, a little bit of a wild atmosphere with my African mask, my Austrian grandmother, and here some sand of our travels in the deserts. And this, again, my goblet as a perfume candle, because as I told you, I think in each room it's important to have a little bit of also your nose being interested in something happening. My big piano, demi-queue, very big, takes a lot of space, but it's important to have a good sound, and here it's more your ears which are going to be attracted. I have a son who is a very good piano player and who is creating some music, so it's very nice in the evening. Sometimes when you do cocktails, when he was younger and he wanted to have a little bit of money, he used to play, he was just sitting and play what was coming in his head and play some music for the friends, which I think it's also fun. Here you have a big vase, mariage vase in cercle d'écaille, in this interesting work of brushstroke. And just some branches. I think nothing nicer than big branches. I remember when we were coming back from weekend with my children, they were always complaining because the car was always full of branches. So they have all the branches in the head. And at the time we were living at the 4th floor with no lift. So we were, and my husband also was complaining because we were carrying the children, the luggage, the branches, all the little animals coming out of the branches. But it's very important for me. When I'm in the countryside, when I arrive in my house, I open the volet, and first thing I do is to go around and cut branches to put in all the pots. And then I can think about what do we have for eating, is there something in the fridge or not, but important first, branches all around the place. So you see here, I want really to show you the details of the doorknobs, which are really beautiful work. You have this olive leaves work with this little, all this work you see with the branches, with a feuille d'acanthe work. It's really a really a beautiful work, and this I really wanted to maintain. I was lucky because it was already with this original gold. It has never been painted, as it's very often unfortunately done. People paint that in white because they find that gold is too, I don't know what, because they want to make it modern. And so here we already have the original gold bronze work, which is really something very valuable for me. And all the work from the top to the bottom is really from the origin. And on the doors panels, you have again this lovely work of wood. So this is the lucky thing when you are arriving in a flat, in an apartment of this period Haussmann, because all the beauty of the ceiling, doors, windows is there, and it's part of the history of the flat. So I think that's important to keep. So here, my balcony, my little garden, Parisian garden, with this very lovely view on the church Saint-Augustin, which is the highest dome of Paris, with a cross on the top. I love this view. It's a little bit my Roman view, Italian view. So on the balcony, this is full of sun in summertime, so it's really nice. And when there is too much sun, we just put a little bit of the store, so it gives the impression to be a little bit at home outside, which is nice. So this is a sitting room. So let's say we are entertaining, we just had a nice aperitif, and now the show is starting. So I say everyone, c'est servi, venez à table, and we open the doors. The room where things happen, where we will entertain, where we will have exciting conversation together, and we will spend a very unique time with friends and family. So this room, as I told you before, used to be linked with the room we just saw, because here again I have this big frame which were empty. And here I decided again to put some mirrors to have this lovely reflection between the different mirrors. I use the same old technique mirrors with all these little dots of mercury. But here, as you can see, instead of having the iron lines, I have just this lovely iron button which will make the intersection of the mirror. So it's another way to cut mirrors and to interpret them. On the other side, the same chimney, because you remember on the other room here it was open, so before you had these two chimneys looking at each other. It's exactly the same chimney as in the other room. It's exactly the same mirror, gold and grey, than in the other room. On the chimney, I have this my vase, my Athena vase, in the Panache collection, with this lovely work, brushstroke work, which can remind some feathers. Here it's in these blue-grey tones, and around candle. You will see in this room that there are candles everywhere. I find when you have a dinner, it's very important to have a very gentle and soft lighting, because everyone looks so much more nice when you have the lighting of the candle. So everything I can find where I could put a candle, I will use them. I will show you after. So here I have all these glass candles, which I think are nice because in front of the mirror, it plays with a reflection of light, with transparency of mirror and glass. So we have here 6 candles in different heights, making a lovely decor in front, around the vase. On both sides of the mirror, this gravure, the en martinet, which was a very famous 18th century naturalist painter, and he was specialized in birds. So this is a collection. I find them in Alexandria, in Egypt, where I used to live with my husband when we were just young married. The walls are painted in this soft green, again a color that I have created on my own, mixing some powders, because I think that's really the way to find the subtle green I want to have. Green is also quite a traditional color for dining rooms. In the French dining rooms, when you go to visit some castles, you will often see this vert amande, we call it, almond green, in the dining rooms. Here on the wall, I put these little shelves, which are a fantastic way to change the decor, because depending on the season, depending on the mood or what I have under my hands, I will change what I put on my shelves. It's always change, always. Sometimes you may have flower pots with flowers when it's spring. Sometimes you may have more winter decoration. Sometimes it's blue-gray like here. Sometimes it's orange, yellow. I mean, this can always change. I think in the dining room, it can be really more a theatrical atmosphere. So the decor has to move, has to change, like you will see on the table. This is really interesting. So here today, I have put some plates of my Jardin d'Udaipur collection with these cute little birds ready to fly away. And in the middle, my jars in my iconic Transat collection, stripes, in this snake green and gray shades. And what I love to do also, always, this lighting, because I avoid to light my central light, so full of little lighting spots with the little candles. Here I have silver, old Louis XVI chandelier. On this buffet, the story of the buffet is fun because I find it in the street. It was thrown by someone. I guess this must have been furniture which were used in some traditional shops. Because behind you can see some shelves, so I think the man who was selling was behind this, and it was a shop furniture. So I just painted in the same color of the wall, so that it's really like an architectural element. I keep the wood like it was, I didn't paint it. On the top you have this centre de table, we call it. Also very typical 18th century with the mirror and this work of balcony all around. Here my little teacups, I will show you, not for tea because here we have a dinner, but they can be used for other things. This is my serviteur foot stand, which is a traditional shape that you could find in all the traditional sets. I know in the countryside I have thousands of these in the cupboards because it seems that all the plates get broken, but these you still have them. So I did them now in my modern decor. It's also something that sometimes, here I use it with fruits, which is a traditional way to use them, but I use it also sometimes to put some candle on top, these big round candles. It can be also a nice way to bring light in the middle of the table. So this can become a candle holder, like everything. So here, this very lovely piece of furniture that I find in auction, and I couldn't not buy it because it's Austrian, in fact. It's painted with this. I think it's a little bit of humoristic, And it's a good way to show my collection of carafe, crystal carafe. Like on the chimney, I love the play of transparency, of glass, of crystal, and mirror. In front, you have this lovely biscuit work of little boy putting a needle out of his feet. And on the bottom also a lovely biscuit work. So this is also very convenient when you want to put some dishes or because when we have dinner, we bring the food in the dishes, of course. We don't bring it directly in the plate. So it can be a place where to put dishes. This is a very beautiful Baroque piece, Apothicaire tabernacle kasten, we call it in Austria. And it comes from my grandmother. So it's something from the 17th century, so it's quite rare. It's a very beautiful work of paneling, of different wood panels. Also, I want to show you my favorite little cup, completely broken, but which inspires me a lot. It's really part of my love with porcelain. This comes from my grandmother, Austrian grandmother, and in Austria, you really also have a very strong tradition of porcelain. And I love the very modern way of painting this thing with black and with this tie-dye work of hand-painted. A beautiful hand-painted work. As you can see, it has got a long story. It has been fixed up several times. So this would be maybe my little totem piece. So now we arrive in the center part of the room and of the house, let's say, because it's a table. I used to have a very traditional English mahogany table, which completely breaks down. One dinner, it falls down because I think the foods were a little bit damaged, and so it was a big drama. So, and in fact, it was good luck because it was a good opportunity to change and to do some things that I always have wanted to do, is to be able to have two tables or one table. So I asked iron craft man to build these two tables. They are very simple, very modern, very, you shouldn't really notice them. It's because the star here is not the table, the star is what is on the table. So I wanted them to be black, so very neutral. I did some, it's a shiny black, so it's not too much sad. I mean, it has a reflection of the light also, and also of the walls. So it's not like a black hole, you see. It's also not really a color because it's a reflection of lots of different colors. So what is fantastic with these two tables is that I can have lots of different options of organizing my dinner. There are two identical tables. They are not completely square, they are a little bit rectangular. So I can choose to be either a little dinner, 8 people or 6 people, so I would be just around one table, and this will remain free. We can be 12, so I will put the two tables together. Generally, when I put the table together, I put a big tablecloth on top, so it will look like more, the traditional countryside table. Very nice when you have a big family dinner. And if we are a lot, like 16, I find it very nice to have two separate tables, like I did today. Today I did 6 and 6, so 12. Because I think it's nice sometimes to be able to have a general conversation. When it's a big table, you generally speak with your two neighbors, but you don't have a general conversation, which sometimes you would like to have. Even more if I decided that this evening I want to introduce this guy with this woman and this, so it's nice when they can speak together. So it's more intimate to have 2 tables. They have chat together during the aperitif in the sitting room, and now they are going, and I can choose who I want to speak with who, because I'm going to put this woman next to this man, so that they have to speak. Because very often when you arrive, you are going to speak with the people you know, and the people you don't know, you don't speak with them, which is a little bit sad, because at the end of the dinner, I wanted that this guy meets this guy or this woman, and they have him speak. So during the dinner, I can decide who is going to speak with who. So on a table like this, you can really have interesting common conversation. So that is a little my strategy on the table. So generally, I decide, of course, who is sitting next to who. As you know, the French etiquette, there are 2 different ways of dressing a table. The hostess and her husband will be at the 2 extremes of the table. If you have a big table, this is the English way of présider. And the French way will be, when you have the 2 tables together, to sit one in front of the other on this side of the table. The more important person on the right of the hostess. It may be someone who have never came to you. It can be the older one. You decide who is the more important person, and then you put, of course, woman, man, woman, one around the table. So here I decided to do 2 tables of 6, and you will see that on these 2 tables there are 2 different color stories going on. Here we are more in the purple, blue shades and red shades. And here on the other table we are more in the green aubergine colors. So in this room you have a big family of chairs from very different countries. So this is, I had a full set of 10 chairs. These are Austrian chairs that I found in auction. I bought them to put them in the mountains, in my chalet in the mountains. But I find that they were really fun in Paris. A little bit unexpected to have these very rustical Austrian chairs, more paysan, farmer chairs. And I find they were fun in this room. And here, more English, traditional English chairs. And on the side, Austrian Biedermeier chairs. So you really have the whole world here. It's very international here. And very different styles, from the most sophisticated to the more rustical. And it works. This was a gift of my mother when we were young married, because for my mother, as I told you, everything which is around the table is very important. So she gave us this traditional English table that we break, but the chairs are still there. And these chairs, the Austrian one, come from my grandmother in Austria. And this, I bought them in auction, in a very little auction house. We were having a weekend by some friends in north of Paris, and we went to this auction just for fun, and suddenly I saw these chairs, and you can't believe them. I bought them €7 the chair. Shh, don't tell it. It was really amazing. This house, I bought it 20 years ago. I wanted to be in the 8th arrondissement because, as I told you, my grandfather used to be not very far from here, and for me as a child, Paris was like the wonderland. And I was always attracted by this part of Paris, which is near Parc Monceau, which is really the Haussmannian part of Paris. So 20 years ago, I was looking for an apartment. I was expecting my 6th child, so we need to have a bigger house, and also linked to my family was my job, and I wanted to have a space in my flat to work. I always wanted to be able to be at home. So it was challenging to find a place where I could have a big place, a big room to put my showroom, which were a little bit separated from the family part of the flat. So when I visited this flat, I really had what we call a coup de foudre. And I fall in love with all the details which are part of the structure of this flat. As well as the ceilings, as the doors, the windows. It's a typical Osmanian flat, which means that when you have the entrance and a big corridor, at the beginning you have all the rooms for entertaining, big rooms. First one, dining room looking on the courtyard, which is very typical Osmanian, and then the salon, the sitting room, which is which used to be a double sitting rooms, looking in the street. Then all the bedrooms, and at the very far end of the corridor, the kitchen, because at the time you had plenty of maids which were helping. So I know a lot of people in Paris now are moving the kitchen next to the dining room. I didn't do that. I keep all my bedrooms because I need all these bedrooms, and I keep the kitchen at the very far of the corridor. So it's true that when we have dinners, we run in the corridor to bring the things. But I find it nice to maintain it as it was. What I think is very important when you are designing, when you are decorating a place, is to maintain the atmosphere, the historical atmosphere, and to bring your identity and a little bit of modernity. So I hate when it's too much deco, matchy, obvious. I love when it's a little bit borderline. And so the colors that I have chosen, for instance, in the sitting room, it was 20 years ago that I chose this color. I wanted to find something which were a little bit of traditional, but also modern, not too invasive, but still there. So it's always this balance between doing something which is really new and keep the spirit of the space. The inspiration is really very spontaneous. It's a lot of also of pieces of furniture, carpets that I find and I fall in love with them. So I think when each piece has its own identity and is beautiful, everything can be mixed together. There are no rules. Okay, so let's go in the rest of the house. So here it's my big corridor. It's also something I really loved when I visit this house, because it's very rare to have such a large corridor in the Osman buildings. Generally, they are much more narrow and they are very dark. What is nice here is that you have this window at the end, this square window, because I am the last building of the street, and that's why I have this light coming in, which is very rare. So here you see the stripes. Stripes is like being in the forest. In a forest of stripes. Here I have these two furniture which are very convenient to put all the porcelain and tablecloths and candles and all what you need to dress a table. These big maps of Paris, I found them in the attic in the countryside, and we decided to paint the frame. We did that when we were young married. And you see there are some addresses and roads, and all these roads were roads where we used to live, or where our grandparents were living, or where we meet, or where was our school. So they all have a little meaning. So it was really fun. It's a little clin d'œil, I would say. So these are two gravures of Italian houses, but the fun little thing is that the frame, I made it, it was 30 years ago when I was doing, as I told you, my marble on frames, on porcelain, on walls, everywhere. So now I show you my bedroom. I wanted to have something very warm, very intimate. So nothing better than putting fabrics on the wall, because it's always it's cut also the louds. It's nice. This is a pied-à-terre fabric. It's an inspiration of these 18th century, 17th century even patterns. This pink red, I find it very warm. I have combined this quite geometric pattern with this braconnier fabric. It's one of my favorite one. When I was not even married, I thought always, one day when I will have a house, I will have the Grand Corail pattern. And this is the Grand Corail. It's really these Persian fabrics, which I absolutely adore. So for the back of the bed, I made this a bit Baroque piece. On the curtains are the same fabric as this. In fact, these used to be some curtains that I had in my first flat, just young married. And I bring them here in my bedroom, and as I have 3 pairs of curtains, I decided to make a baldaquin. The story of this baldaquin is fun because this iron piece was at the beginning not at all meant to be a baldaquin. I did it for the Figaro, the magazine Figaro. They had a subject where they asked two designers go to the flea market in Saint-Ouen, buy things and transform them. And that's what I did. So this was a flat iron piece. It used to be this iron decoration on the outdoor of the windows in old houses. So I took it and asked to my iron maker man to do this baldaquin, and I put my 3rd curtain to have a baldaquin. So it ends like this. So these are really my very iconic first fabrics. I break my purse to buy them when I was young married because it was braconnier, very expensive. So, but you know, for me, fabrics is so important, and you see, they deserve because they are 35 years old and still so beautiful. So here again we are on the street, so we have the view on the balcony. In springtime you have a lot of green, so it's nice because it brings a little bit of intimaity. You don't have the neighbors in front of your eyes. On the floor, again I wanted to have something warm. I put a wall-to-wall carpet, a milleret, so you have a lot of shades of colors, which is interesting. The 2 armchairs are armchairs of Louis Philippe, with this fish pattern here, with a more empire silk fabric. The chimney is very cute. Of course, it's part of the flat. It was already there since ever and ever, with this lovely, funny work of faience here. The mirror also, authentic mirror, was here already. Besides the mirror, I have these 2 appliques. This may come, I bought them in flea market, but they may come from a church. This is a typical church pieces. On the top here, you have a little family of gravure, all showing some Egyptian landscape. It's a remember of my first 2 years of young married. We were living in Alexandria and spending a lot of time in the antique. There were some antique shops, and so we bought a lot of things there. And so it's all a story about Egypt, about the pharaonic period, a typical campement. You know, this is a view of Cairo. Here you have some battles of Napoleon period, some pharaonic view. Here you can see Napoleon when he did his campaign in Egypt. And this is a map, and we were living in Alexandria on the Mediterranean Sea. To stay in Egypt, this very old carpet, a little bit very, very old, but it's also part of my heart, because it's, I think, one of the first things we bought also. We invest. It's a very old carpet. We bought it to the old woman who was selling this. So as it's so old, we keep it on the bed. For the lamp, here you have this antlers. It's an Austrian lamp with this tartan shade. A little bit strange, but I'm not afraid of big things. Here, books, and books, because it's important to have your books with you. Even when everything is on internet, we need books. On this furniture is a gift of my mother. It's called a semenier, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drawers, like the 7 days of the week. Semenier, semaine. It's empire style with a column. There's a lovely work of bronze, and off top a sleeping woman. So here we create this library because this was a door initially going to the dining room. So we wanted to make it to close it to really separate the bedroom from the dining room. We painted dark red in the beside, and we keep the white frame around. It's always nice to have dark shelves, I think. Here we arrive on this piece of furniture. It was a gift for my husband. It's called a bureau cylindre. It's a Louis XVI, and it's very, very convenient to hide the whole mess that you can put here. So, it's better to close it. When I'm here, I think it's very warm and happy. And I feel when you come here, you know immediately that you are in Paris, you see. I hate these flats where, for instance, people will destroy every old thing because they want to have a modern thing. Or this, when you don't know if you are in New York or in Madrid or I don't know where. So I think it's really important to feel the identity. And I love Paris, and so when you arrive here, you can immediately see that you are in Haussmannian flat. And I think you feel comfortable. You have big sofa, and you can really sit well and don't think that you are disturbing something, destroying something. It's a happy family house. So here we have the heater, hidden heater with the stripes, black and white. The map of Paris, very important when you go out to be able to show. It was important before the iPhone. Now we don't use it anymore. But okay, so now we are in the kitchen. When we arrived, it was very simple. This very strange size of kitchen. I couldn't say what geometric pattern it is. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 corners. It's also something that you will see very often in the Haussmannian building, because it's really the end of the building being linked with the next one. So I wanted to have 2 spaces in the kitchen. One space where we could have a dinner. As you have noticed, we are here very far from the dining room. So I must admit that even if I love lovely tables, I will not have all my meals in the dining room, but a lot here when we are just family. So I wanted to have a nice space where you could have breakfast, lunch, dinner when you don't have a dinner guest or when it's not a Sunday lunch. So we cutted the room with this piece of furniture. Everything was made by order by a Belgian company. we wanted to keep something traditional look, because again I think it's important to respect the style of the construction. But we bring some architectural elements which make it more interesting. So all these pieces, we have added them because it was really a very simple, there was nothing on the top, all this corniche didn't exist. The doors were very simple, so we added all the woodwork here on this door also, in order to make the room more sophisticated. And we played with all this furniture, with these doors, which some are plain, some are with glass so that you can see inside, and we put some lighting so that, you know, when you have lovely like glasses, it's nice, it's open a little bit the view. So we played with these different panels, and here you see you have the lattice, which make it less plain than if it were completely white. I wanted to warm this room, and so I chose this very deep red, browny red, and I wanted to give it a little bit of a country style. So on the floor I put this stone, it's Pierre de Bourgogne, really in the old way of cutting the stone, so very irregular, like you have it. So I create this funny bench, very convenient because you can put lots of things inside. And it reminds me really the Austrian style, with this way of cutting the wood, very baroque, and the stag on top, which are also reminding a little bit country, mountains. The lamps are more modern. I like the contrast with these shiny silver lamps. The table is a very rustical country table with a branch in black painted. So it's a play of white, black and red. And here you have a lovely painting of a friend, Donadieu, who is painting on very old papers, you know, that he find a rubbish paper, and he makes this very interesting work of pastel, aquarelle, painting with inspiration of antique stories. So here it's really the technical part of the kitchen where you work. So there is a view on the courtyard, and for the plan de travail I use some what we called la pierre bleue de Belgique, this blue stone of Belgium. I like because it's very natural and you have a lot of motif on the stone. And for the wall here behind the heater I have some zelige, black zelige, very rustical. Here you can see my cache pose, always important. You can put flowers, but you can put also all the kitchen things. So here it's again this idea of countryside. It's really this buffet that you have in the old kitchen, where you can, you know, storage a lot of things, and I like it because it's like nearly like a furniture, like an old furniture, and it makes a link between the technical part and this part, which is more like a little, let's say, dining room. Here on the table I put my verdure collection with this lovely red, which reminds the walls. Here we would have a dinner with a little bit of soup with a calotte plate. These are the typical little pieces to put. It used to be to put the carafe but it can be used for butter, for whatever. The little flowers again, the goblets, which can be used for water or whatever. My coupe Christophe for bread. So this is a very traditional old shape of the Limoges porcelain. I use it also sometimes to do some bouquet, some low bouquet. Here it's convenient for bread. And here this little teacup, Japanese teacup, which is of course with a little candle waiting to be light up. Because even a little dinner with only everyday dinner, I like to light up a candle. It makes a very common dinner being a little bit special. So that's important. And here my Murano Marie Brondolini glasses, I love. So ready for a little family dinner, and here some branches, you know, again I was at the countryside this weekend, so poof, poof, we cut some branches and we have a little bit of nature arriving in the city, which is quite important when you are living in Paris. So this home is a lot of memory of my family house with 6 children, my business, mixing both things. Sometimes it happened funny things because, you know, when I had my clients coming here, my designers, as I'm in the luxury part, it was very more high-end people used to very sophisticated things. So I remember we were in the showroom doing my show with these clients, and suddenly a baby arrived and said, "Mommy, I'm finished." So it was always this mix of my business, which is really part of my life and that I love. My children grew up in the porcelain, you know, and this family life. So really this mix, which is also very important because, as I say, tabletop has a lot to do with the private life of everyone, and the art de vivre, and, you know, the entertaining and the food, the cooking. So it's not only decoration, it's not only colors and patterns, it's a lot more. So now we are at the end. I show you my house where we are having lovely time with the family, where I used to work also during 20 years. A big space of inspiration here. I hope you enjoy. I enjoy to share with you my little secrets and my passion. As you may have guessed, passion of table, the enjoyment of being really part of the haute couture de la table, you know, sharing l'art de vivre à la française with you. Goodbye.
Bonjour and welcome to Chateau Garreau. I'm Garreau Kedigan, New York City interior designer, and I'm so excited to share with you my fabulous Parisian pied-à-terre. Come take a look.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
I have loved Paris ever since I was a child. We used to come here all the time. My brother lived here for a while and I used to visit. And I always said I would have an apartment here. And as I became a designer in New York City, I would bring clients shopping here quite often. And it was really only after the pandemic that I thought, you know what, it's time to get a place here. So I started my search. It took a while to find, and I was so thrilled when I walked into this apartment. I saw exactly what I was looking for. I had seen a lot of apartments in Paris, and you know, it's a fairly interesting city, even though the architecture here is beautiful. The buildings are kind of awkwardly shaped, and I'm like a total classicist, and I love symmetry, and I love you know, architecture. So, you know, the interiors for me really needed to be very structured. and it was hard to find an apartment that really fit that bill. So the minute I walked in the door here, I was like, oh my God, this is it. Oh my God, this layout is perfect. The windows were perfectly symmetrical. There were 2 fireplaces, at opposite sides of the main living room space. It was perfect. It was great architecture in the floors. And of course, the most important thing that I was looking for from day one was ceiling height. I really wanted an apartment with really tall ceilings. Of course, my main residence is in New York City, and most of you who are big fans of Homeworthy might remember me and my home tour of the Carlisle, my apartment at the Carlisle in New York, which is my home base in New York City. The best part of having an apartment in Paris is the minute you get off the plane, you can get in a taxi and come to your own home. I don't know why, but all the airplanes arrive early morning in Paris, and of course, as it is in Paris, everything is inconvenient. The hotel rooms are never ready until 3 p.m. So after years of doing that, I was just so relieved, and I pinched myself to think, wow, I actually can come home to a place of my own here in this city. Apartments in Paris have the most amazing architectural character, and typically you get these wonderful ceiling heights. So when I bought this apartment, I was enamored with this crown molding in this entrance foyer, and it was all about grandeur, 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 and I wanted to play up the fabulous scale of this entrance foyer. So I used this wonderful marbleized ceiling wallpaper. It's actually from Scalamandre. And it's marbleized and has this wonderful red and blue, and it really is an homage to the architecture and the marbleized and the fanciness of these grand old Parisian apartments. On the walls, I did this wonderful appliqué. It's just a very simple half bead molding that I had my contractor paint in gilded gold. And right in front of it, I put this lovely little banquette. And when you add upholstery into an entrance foyer, it really makes it feel as though the foyer is, an additional little seating area. So when I actually have an overflow of guests and a party in here, and have an overflow of people in the living room, they actually come and congregate here. I loved the beautiful chevron floors throughout the apartment, and I really worked very, very meticulously with my contractor to clean them, and I wanted to preserve them as much as possible. Having a grand entrance foyer is always an opportunity for me to decorate and gild the lily. So I always like to place furniture pieces in an entrance foyer to merely make it feel like it's decorated. So for instance, in this room, I put this wonderful chest of drawers, and opposite, I have this fantastic Biedermeier bookcase. And I always like to, decorate bookcases with sort of eccentric objects, not just books. I tucked this fabulous little painting in there. I've been shopping the Paris flea markets ever since I was a kid, for clients. And of course, every time I go, I pick up stuff for myself. And I love to have an eccentric mix of things. I always feel like the home is really a reflection of your personality, and it's an important thing to have, wonderful objects that really reflect your personality. And of course, I'm an eccentric, so of course I have a lot of eccentric little things, like for instance this fabulous little tempiero, which is actually quite heavy. It's very heavy. And then this wonderful, this is actually really sort of like a fabulous little find. It's like actually an underside of a bomb shell. And you can see that it says the size of the artillery on the back, and somebody had installed this Canadian coin in there. I thought that was very clever. And this fabulous bust. I love busts, and I always think that they add a lot of character and a lot of strength to a space. So I positioned him right here. In Paris, they actually define apartments by the size of the square meter, which is totally confusing to me. I don't understand any of that language, and they're like, oh, X amount square meters, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. So in New York City, we always go by square feet, and I sort of know what the square footage is. It's probably around 1,200 square feet here. It was a 2-bedroom apartment, but the living rooms in Paris tend to be small. So it was the same was true with this apartment. So I decided that I would, remove the wall between the main living room and the second bedroom and really create this grand salon-like living room. Of course, I'm so grand, and I love to have a grand interior. And it's really great. It's wonderful to entertain, to have people over. I specifically bought this apartment actually for my 50th birthday. I know, can you believe I'm 50? Tragique. And I actually had a bunch of people over, and it was a great big party, and I just really love to entertain, and having great grand spaces for entertaining is key. And voila, here is my fabulous grand salon living room. In Paris, I found that there are quite a few apartments that are large, but they have small living spaces. So this room, the wall between the living room and actually the second bedroom was removed to create the grandeur of the space. And this is what I loved about this apartment, is really the ceiling heights and the size of this wonderful salon room. You have these double-sided fireplaces on either end with these wonderful pairs of mirrors. Again, there's my mirror trick. And the mirror trick is also, pervasive in the amphithéâtre, because you'll see how I used it when we go through into the next room. The room was actually quite wonderful because of the symmetry. And really what I wanted to do is I wanted to have a string of intimate seating areas within this large space. It reminded me of a much larger, much grander, iconic sort of Parisian style, hotel particulier, so to speak. And the room really had this great symmetry about it. I had 2 fireplaces on either side, so I created these 2 doorways going into the dining room adjacent, and on the opposite side we created these 2 bookcases that really reflect the balance and the symmetry for the space. It's really lovely. Those of you who follow me on Instagram really know that I love my Greek key carpet. It's really quite iconic, and you see it a lot in my interiors. So this was a perfect opportunity to sort of infuse a bit of a modern character into a space which is really quite classic and wonderful. So I used the Greek key carpet in here. I love the scale of it. I think it really, really fills the room beautifully. And it also helps me divide the room up into smaller, intimate seating groupings. So in the foreground area, I have this fabulous little sofa seating area. A lot of the pieces in my apartment I found at the Paris flea markets. I love shopping the Paris flea markets, and finding wonderful eccentric objects are amazing, such as this amazing little Art Nouveau sort of little brass bowl. I just found this, and even the underside is gorgeous. And of course, this Kelvin Laverne coffee table. I bought this actually at the flea markets too. A lot of the pieces that I have in here were actually in my house in Montreal originally. When I bought my apartment in Paris, I ended up shipping the stuff that I had bought at the Paris flea markets back to Paris because I really loved having it here. But again, the eccentric mix of things to me is super important. For instance, this fabulous little tray that I bought when I was in Morocco, next to this very eccentric little multicolored, I think this is Gustavian. And then these wonderful candlesticks from Michael Aram. I love, again, they continue the branch form from the branch display over there, and they sit on top of the Kelvin Laverne table that actually has leaves and branches on it. So it's sort of a very subtle play. And here's a great trick. When you actually want to have a coffee table on your coffee table, open it to your favorite page, because it's always a great way to start a conversation when you have guests over and they come to sit down and they're like, oh, this book happens to be open to this page, and then you can just delve right into the conversation about why it is open to that page, because it's your favorite part of the book. So on this end of the room, I designed these 2 banquette seating areas that really reflect each other. And what I call a near pair. Sometimes it's fun to be a little bit playful with symmetry by making it a little bit asymmetrical. So you'll see here that, on one side I have this gigantic stone coffee table. It's low, so it's not too imposing. But on the other side, I actually have a little bit more delicate pair of little tables. These are fabulous little tables. These I bought in the Paris flea market as well. They're amazing. And I love to be very playful with my pillows. Those of you who know my work know this, that I love pillows. Pillows, 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 pillows. And I'm not afraid to mix patterns. I'm not afraid to mix textures. And people are often afraid, and they when you show them these fabrics together, on a small color palette, they're just like, oh my goodness, how would you mix these together? But look how amazing they are, and they really, hold the space beautifully, and they're playful. I love my giant canvas art. Those of you who follow me on Instagram also know that I do a lot of that. I just love to do these iconic sort of classic images printed onto canvas that really gives the space a classical feeling, but also printed onto canvas with a very straight return side gives it over a little bit of a modern interpretation of a very classic detail. The architecture of the room was very strong, so I really took my cues from that. These fireplaces, look how gorgeous these are. This is amazing. This is a beautiful Verde marble. So these two built-in mirrors on either side of the room help me bring the language of the architecture of the fireplaces up to the ceiling. These two built-in bookcases are really sort of designed like pairs of doors that really kind of reflect the amphithéâtre of the other doors on the opposite side of the room, so that the two elevations on the two ends of the living room are actually perfectly symmetrical, which I love. It's really, really eccentric. And I love to have low chairs. I think low chairs really augment ceiling height. These are the loveliest little slipper chairs. I have these made by my upholstery workroom in Canada. They're wonderful. And I think that they're very friendly, and a lot of people love to just plop in and sit down on them. This is a wonderful little vintage Baker chair that I bought. This is actually in a thrift shop in New York City, and this is my own fabric design. I had this fabric done by Peter Fasano, and I designed it, and they printed it for me. Isn't that fabulous? And then a pair of banquettes on either side of the living room on this side of the room are sort of like, they're very casual. They're armless, and they're almost like bench style banquettes. They're very characteristic of the work that I do. I use these all the time. My upholsterer makes these for me all the time. And I feel like they're very friendly, and people love to come and sit in this corner. It's really fun. And they have these wonderful end tables that really, they really are punctuation marks to the two banquettes that sit in this corner. The antique mirror tops are actually vintage and original. And then a really fun sort of whimsical nod to the Greek key are these great green mid-century modern lamps with the little collar of the Greek key going through. It's just fabulous, isn't it? I love to do a lot of mirror work. In my apartment at the Carlisle, if you remember, I had done mirrored jams. So in this apartment, I loved the fact that the sky could be reflected in mirrors on the sill. So if you come and stand here, you can actually see the sky. This apartment happens to be on the first floor in Paris, and in Paris, the city was actually developed way before the elevator. So the first floor apartments tend to be the grander apartments, because when the city was built, those are the apartments that were, the prize apartment. It was called La Belle Étage. So that was actually the coveted floor. So now, even though in New York everybody wants to be in the penthouse, in Paris the more grand apartments are actually the first floor apartments. So it's a really great trick in order to bring the sky in, even though you're sort of on a low floor. It's really fun to have a mirrored windowsill. And those of you who watched my Homeworthy tour of the Carlisle in New York City would know that it would not be a Garrow Kettigan designed room without a hidden TV somewhere. Can you find the TV on this wall? Here's the key. This is the secret. I hide the remote control in this little urn. Isn't that fabulous? So where the banquette seating area is really for a larger group of people, the foreground area is really for when you have a smaller, intimate group of people. And I love this little area. It's organized around the foreground fireplace, and I have these fabulous Janssen chairs that I bought, also at the Paris flea market, and this wonderful little Japan table, this really quirky little vase, which is fantastic. And I love, to really, again, put pillows on everything. So I have these wonderful little eye-cut looking little velvet pillows that I actually trimmed on the back with a contrasting color. I think that's really fun. And then those of you who know me and know my work and have seen my apartment at the Carlisle remember that I love to do these wonderful printed canvas art pieces. And so this is actually a fantastic piece. I actually had it in my house in Montreal. I printed it, oversized scale. And I love the dramatic sort of old master art character of the piece. It's just printed onto canvas. And then just giving it a very simple square reveal return gives it a very modern effect in a more traditional subject matter. I think it's a great mix of the modern and traditional together. Again, mirroring things is a great strategy for making spaces feel much larger. This is a lovely little mirrored side table which has an antique mirrored top on it, and I found these lovely little candlesticks. Aren't these amazing? These are fabulous. They're like sort of a faux tortoise shell. I think they're cast in resin, but the minute I saw them, I was like, these are divine. I love the movement, I love the character. And then when you put them on a mirrored top, it's like actually just like a continuation of the Cuckoo Bananas candlestick base. It's fabulous. One of the things that I love is, furniture pieces that are a little eccentric. This is a fantastic console table that I actually purchased. I purchased this in New York from the Antique and Artisan Center. And it had these wonderful little swag nail head trim on it. And the minute I saw it, I said, oh, doesn't it look so French in a way? It has like this wonderful little swag detail. So it was perfect to come into my apartment here. This little bench is a custom design. I had this made by my upholstery workroom and has a little Greek key G on the side. Look at that, fabulous. And it goes really well with my carpet. Love that. And then I always love to use branches in all my interiors because it always adds a little bit of a raw and natural effect. It was funny, I went out looking for branches, and in New York it was so easy to find them because it's Central Park, but Paris, they're so organized and they collect branches off the street like, fastidiously. It was hard to find, actually. So these aren't as good as I would normally like them to be. The color story for this room was actually inspired by a kitchen that I had seen in a Milan design showroom a few years ago. And it was this vibrant, wonderful tomato red, and it had this blue ceiling, and it really spoke to me. And I said, one day in one of my interiors, I would love to use this color story. And it was really when I walked through this apartment, the minute I saw the apartment, I said, wow, you know what? I think I'm going to use that color story for this room. And of course, for this color story, I had to sort of add my own touch to it. So those of you who know my work know that I love to use this wonderful sort of mustardy brown taupey color that I call brown paper bag, which was my living room on Park Avenue many years ago. But I used that actually to do accented trim throughout the apartment. You might remember having seen that in the foyer. And I like to use one color thread that then travels throughout the apartment. So come and take a look at what I did with it in the dining room. There are so many advantages to living in Paris, but for me as a designer, the most important thing is inspiration. Whenever I feel my batteries are depleted from inspiration, I love coming here and just walking the streets and just taking it all in. Paris is the city of beauty, and I really feel like I'm so inspired here. It really is an inspirational city in terms of design. Everything that they do here is all about the pretty. And of course the croissants and the baguettes, of course. I should really hold off on eating those, but I do anyway. I am actually, pretty proficient in French. All the years of coming here, I grew up in Canada, from Montreal, and Canadians do tend to be bilingual, although the Canadians in the West speak more English and the Canadians in the East speak more French. Luckily, Montreal is kind of a good blend of the two languages, and I had a lot of immersion in the French language growing up. My brother lived here for a long time, so I would come and visit him often. And I just have a love of the French culture, French language, so I immerse myself here, and I really force myself to talk to people in French when I'm here, and it actually helps me practice. Even though a lot of people here speak English, and at the beginning when I first came here, they'd all switch over to English. And I feel like now, after being coming here for so many years, that it's a little bit more of a compliment to myself, where they don't change anymore. They actually continue speaking to me in French. So maybe that's a sign that I've improved my French a little bit. As with most designers who love to entertain at home, this fabulous countertop became, doubles actually as a bar. So I love to have a fabulous tray, some great, bottles of, things to serve for people. And another thing that I loved was the concept of creating this shelf for display. The idea of sort of having great ceiling height, and to use that ceiling height is key. Just creating a little bit of a feature wall. And I love to mix eccentric things together. So there's a sort of a collection of brass candlesticks, this eccentric view of Venice. And then what I think is actually the dome of St. Peter's. I think it's St. Peter's, because I think there's like a little palm tree there. So I found that in a thrift shop in New York. I love that piece. The cabinet, in contrast to the rest of the apartment, is sort of a little bit more contemporary, because it sort of landed like a spaceship into this dining room space. It really needed to be a little bit more contemporary. And so I painted it all black. There are some really little fun gold lines that go through it, almost like a little Mondrian painting. And of course, honed marble top is, for me, the essence of a beautiful marble a piece. I'm never really too concerned about staining marble. When you think about all the beautiful interiors in Italy, they have these wonderful 200-year-old countertops that are like stained with hundreds of years of olive oil stains, and they tend to look beautiful. So I love the honed, unsealed, beautiful Calcutta marble. I'll take that any day over any man-made products, that's for sure. The architecture of this room is what really drove the inspiration from my design, and it really all started with this wonderful chevron floor. The chevron floors are all original to the apartment, and I worked carefully with my contractor to restore them, and I just think that they're brilliant. And it's amazing how such an old floor could really have such a modern feeling to it. We're using chevron floors today in modern interiors, and it's still very contextually relevant. This is a fabulous Biedermeier table that I actually bought in a thrift shop in New York City. Can you even believe it? And it had its day in my entrance foyer in my house in Montreal, and it ended up here. And I always love to sort of put different chairs around a dining table. I think it's more whimsical, it's more fun. So I put these two armchairs on the ends, and I mixed them with these two side chairs. But if you pay close attention, you'll actually see that the fabric is the same. So the fabric is actually this wonderful Chelsea Editions diamond. And unfortunately now it's been discontinued, but when they had this fabric, I used to use it all the time. So on the armchairs I did the very pale green, and on the side chairs I did the brown. So I think it's really sort of a fun way to relate two chairs that are actually unrelated, and organize them around a space. Then one of my favorite shops in Paris, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a little perfume shop, and they have these wonderful little bouillotte lamps that sit right on their countertop. So when I saw this lamp at the Paris flea market, I thought, oh gosh, I really want to have this on my dining table, because it's sort of unexpected. And when you see this dining table, you actually see it when you come in from the front door. You're looking right through. So I wanted this table to almost feel like it could be like a center table, and not, just a dining table. So it really helped me do that by placing this as a lamp here. It's really cute. One of my favorite elements in this room is this fabulous wooden chandelier. It's a lantern. And when I purchased it, I bought this from the Paris flea markets, and the vendor told me that it was actually 18th century, but I'm not sure. I don't know. But it really just has a beautiful raw quality about it, and I think it contrasts well with all the other polished details of the space. The built-in bookcase behind the banquette is another opportunity to sort of add some whimsical character to the room. So I always love using built-in bookcases to add a little bit of animation and some personality. So of course, it's not just for plates and dishes and fancy things. You have sort of overflow of books and other interesting little objects. And again, inspired by that perfume shop that we saw, we put these wonderful little applique candles up there, which are really fun to light when you're having a great party. So in this room also I have these wonderful canvas pieces. Like this was actually another printed canvas that I had in my house in Montreal. It made its way over here. And these wonderful sculpture pedestals. But when I first purchased them, I thought, oh, I'm going to paint them. But then they made their way here, and I just kind of love the contrasting color. You know, I think that sometimes a room needs to have a foreign element. You know, something that you would never think to mix into a room and be like, oh, I never thought to put it there, but it actually looks so good there. So these appliques were actually arms of an old chandelier that were repurposed. So this actually would sit into a chandelier. And we had the contractor build these little clips on the wall, and they just sit right in there, and they're actually movable. Isn't that fun? Just very whimsical. So again, also, I'm never afraid to mix color and pattern. So another opportunity on this wonderful, antique cognac leather bench was to put in, a few personality pillows. So this is a wonderful flame stitch chevron from Schumacher. This is a fabulous Greek key, sort of an homage and a reflection back to the carpet that's in the living room. And then again, a spot of yellow, for that foreign element in the room. Speaking of which, I used yellow actually as a cuff on the undersides of the curtains in this room. I had picked this wonderful chevron Missoni-like fabric. It's actually from Castel, Maison Castel, one of my favorite fabric showrooms. And I love the personality of the movement of the chevron in the fabric with the floor. And I think that's a very subtle connection. But I didn't want it to just touch the floor. I wanted there to be a little bit of a separation between the two. So I decided that I would cuff the curtains with a very tall cuff in a yellow. Which again is sort of a little bit of an unexpected, a little foreign element coming through, and works perfectly with the foreign element sculpture pedestal. This fantastic chair is actually one of a pair. I used them originally in my Kip Space show house back in 2016, which was a chalk paneled room. Some of you might remember that project. It was really fun. And I love these chairs. I found them also at the Paris flea market. And there's a right and a left. So one of them has the angle going to the right and the other one goes to the left. And I bookended this entire apartment with these two chairs, so you'll see the other one that appears back in my bedroom when we get over there. But again, I put the Greek key fabric on here, which is again, sort of a connection back to the living room Greek key. And I just love the whimsical character of the legs. They're these little Corinthian columns. Look how fantastic these are. The chairs themselves actually have the personality of the architecture of the apartment in them, which is wonderful. So in the mornings, my favorite thing to do is actually to make tea and sit in this corner. And continuing the enfilade concept through the space, these wonderful mirrors are actually terminus of the view looking in from the living room. See what I mean? It's fabulous, isn't it? So the original kitchen was this lovely little pokey little kitchen space that's off of the dining area. And I really, sort of made the most of it. It has a hidden refrigerator, a little cabinet here for storage, a dishwasher, voila, beeps, and a little sink, But the most important thing to me in Paris, when you come to Paris, is you must get yourself this fabulous tea. This goes back to the concept of the scent of the space. This is the most brilliant scented tea, and I love it. It's Mariage Frère, and it's their black opera tea. It really is. I'm like doing an advertisement for them. But I'm addicted to this. It's fabulous. So every time I come to Paris, I must run to Mariage Frère and get my tea. And of course my Nespresso machine. It was the very first thing I bought when I moved to Paris. When I bought my apartment in Paris, I was ran to the shop and said I must have an Nespresso. So it's small but very practical. And then the idea of using large artwork in a small space is really fun. This fantastic, gigantic scene of Venice, it's unexpected. It's one of these foreign element things that, gives the room a scale that you would normally not, think to use in a space like this. But it really it extends the grandeur into an otherwise not grand space. So the dining room actually spills out into this space. And this is actually the most adorable little jewel box of a room. And I love powder rooms. So this is my homage to Napoleon. Come and take a look. Isn't this the cutest little powder room you've ever seen in your life? It's so cute. I always love to use furniture pieces for vanities, and this was a little piece of furniture that was revamped to use as a little vanity. And of course, again, the concept of using giant art in a space is key to making a space feel like it's actually more grand than it is. So this giant canvas takes up the entire space. It's fabulous. The ceiling is actually characterized by this vintage toile de Juillet wallpaper. It's sort of an idyllic scene. It's kind of a funny little play on Napoleon and his original roots. And then I had this fabulous root mirror that I actually bought at Atelier many years ago. I just had not found the right home for it until I bought this apartment. And then when I got that wallpaper, I said, you know, what a great thematic relationship between the branches of this fabulous mirror and that crazy, idyllic little farm theme wallpaper border. It's fabulous, isn't it? So revamping a piece of furniture and reinventing it and using it for a new purpose is always really fun. I often try and shop and find old pieces of furniture that need a new life. So in this instance, we have this green marble backsplash. So the vanity was painted in the green to match the backsplash as closely as possible, and I think it was a great detail. The hammered custom brass sink basin fits perfectly, and it's very shallow because, you know, as everything in Paris, everything is quite tight. This is actually a really small little bathroom space. The amphithéâtre concept is also continued through this space because what this is actually a pair of doors on this side of the hallway. This is the grand entry foyer again. So you have a pair of doors here, and that's actually reflected on the other side with a pair of doors that go into the bedroom. Come and take a look at this. I actually had a large apartment on Park Avenue for many years, and I sort of got tired of all the guests staying with me, and actually I'm so happy now in New York and Paris. I have a small apartment. When guests come to visit me, I love to put them up in New York at the University Club or in Paris at one of the boutique hotels in this lovely little neighborhood. This apartment is located in the 9th arrondissement, which is really close to the Paris Opera. I really told my real estate broker I wanted something very French and very authentic. I really wanted to be in a neighborhood where you walk out the door and you don't hear a stick of English, which is exactly what this neighborhood is. There's a wonderful street right next door to mine, which is really iconic. It's called Rue de Martyrs. And there are some wonderful little shops on that street, and those shops have literally been there for like 100 years. There's a little cheesemonger shop there that's been there for 200 years. It's unbelievable. This apartment, to me, is really my getaway. You know, everyone needs a getaway in their life. And, you know, especially being, you know, an interior designer in New York City, life is so hectic. There's so much going on. And coming to Paris for me is really my getaway. So I really love to luxuriate and really treat myself. And as I give you the tour of the house, you'll see in many instances how I was able to do that with this space. So you see what I mean? This pair of doors is a perfect reflection of the doors opposite to the powder room. It's wonderful to create that sense of perfect symmetry. Come on through and take a look at my bedroom. Bedrooms to me really need to be cozy and comfortable and a cocoon-like feeling. So that's why I always use canopy beds for my own personal beds. I always find it difficult to get clients to, convince them to do canopy beds, so I ended up doing them for me in all my residences because I just love the feeling of being in a bed like this. When you have a big ceiling height in a space like this for a bedroom, it's always great to have a canopy bed because it creates a little bit of intimacy within the room. So this is kind of like a little bit of a room within a room. The canopy, the valance creates a little bit of a cocoon-like effect. And I love the architecture within architecture. The bed is this fabulous iron bed that I found in the Paris flea markets. It has beautiful iron work on it. and I wanted to continue the iron theme by creating this fabulous pair of bedside tables. These are actually tray top tables. They're Gustavian. I just think that they have the greatest little details. And then sort of to continue the theme of the iron, the rawness of the iron, I actually designed this burlap bedside it's like a bedspread actually on top of the bed, because I love the raw quality of it. And then the burlap is almost the same color as the walls, which is really great. So it really jumps the walls onto the bed. But of course, when I use a rough material like burlap, it's always really fun to like trim it with a little bit of a fringe trim, so to sort of gild the lily. It's sort of an unexpected little detail to add a little bit of a fringe onto burlap. It's actually kind of fun. I'm all about mixing patterns and textures. So on my bed, I always love to use my own bed pillows. So here's a trick: when you buy your bed linens, just buy your sheets. Don't buy the bed pillows. The bed pillows are really not necessary. You can actually have your own bed pillows. And I love to mix color and patterns and textures. So this is a fabulous Etro fabric that was through Clarence House, which has unfortunately been discontinued now, but I loved this fabric when they had it. I used to use it on all my projects. And you see how mixing different patterns and textures really works. It sort of helps pull the whole room together. Animating your bedside tables is one of the most fun and interesting things to do. Of course, I love to have a book, something that I might be reading or in the middle of reading. But then, of course, little eccentric little things like these little birds. And I actually found these when I was shopping with a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, in the Paris flea markets. And this sort of reminds me of when we went through on a really rainy day, and we found these. And it was really special, and it's a good memory. It's fun to have. And the bookcases behind the bed really helped me animate the back of the bed wall, and I think that they're fun, and there was a great opportunity in there to use the contrasting color of the red just a little bit of a pop of color. It brings in sort of the orangey red from the pillows on the bed, as well as reminiscent of my fabulous red color tones in the living room. So that's a wonderful thing. The room was very symmetrical again. The bookcases were actually here. And the built-in closets are wonderfully augmented by mirrored panels. And this is actually a great little decorative trim that I actually purchased from Samuel & Son. It's actually a tape trim with a nailhead stud on it. And I felt like that was such a great little detail, just to bring a little bit of the red from the living room in here. It's a wonderful detail. This was a fabulous little Anglo-Indian chaise that I purchased from the Paris flea market, and for many years it was in my house in Montreal, and I just love it. It's just this great little recliner. It's simple, but it has so many wonderful little details about it. Starting with the curvature on the back. I think it sort of like is a great way to enter the room. It's sort of a gentle curve. The stretcher is wonderful, and sort of the bobbin detail on the legs and the cross stretchers is wonderful. I use this fabulous mohair velvet. I love mohair. It's one of my favorite blue tones. Mohair is great because it always different lights makes mohair look differently in different angles, and it gives a lot of personality to a fabric like that. This is one of my favorite pillows of all time. This fabric is actually from Schumacher from a while ago. Was discontinued, and when they discontinued it, I ran into Schumacher and I begged them to give me all the samples that were left of it so I can make pillows with them. Again, the idea of the large canvas art, it's a great way to anchor a room, especially when you have a large wall such as this. And then I like to actually paint a room such as this all one color. So here's a great tip for you guys at home. When you have a room that you have sort of, you want to pull everything together, it's always nice to paint the trim and the walls all one color. So in this room, I actually threaded in that brown paper bag color that I was using as the trim in the dining room and the bookcases in the living room, and actually the crown of the entrance foyer. So really, that color presents itself in a couple of different ways, in a couple of different areas in the apartment. It really pulls everything together so nicely. Then we have this Greek key chair, and actually if you saw the floor plan of the apartment, you'd understand that this is actually diametrically opposite from the chair that's in the dining room. So I kind of think it's kind of fun. It's kind of a whimsical little, they face each other, you know, through the whole apartment. So it's a lovely little detail. And then again, my large canvas art. I love this fabric, actually. This is a Christopher Farr fabric. It's wonderful. It's called Chicago in color tobacco. It's actually one of their more modern fabrics. I'm actually working with Christopher Farr on reinventing one of their colors of one of their fabrics. So keep an eye out for that. That's coming out soon. As you guys all know, an interior designer's work is never done. So sorry about the mess on my desk. But this is actually a work in progress, and in every one of my residences I always have to have just a little place where I can do my work. So before you guys got here, I'm happy to give you this fabulous grand tour of my apartment. It's a great little break from what I'm working on right now, but of course every time I have my own residence I always make sure that I have a great little spot to work. There's a lovely little window in my bedroom. It has a lot of great light. And in the winter, I love to crack the window open and listen to the sounds of the city in the background. I love to drink my mariage fair tea and work on my sketches. I do a lot of hand sketches, so that's why it's kind of a mess. And opposite from the bed is this wonderful chinoiserie cabinet that I purchased at Christie's several years ago. This was actually in my guest bedroom in Montreal, and I'm so glad that it found its way back into this room and helps augment my sprinkling of red as my accent color throughout the guest bedroom. Of course, in this room, the ceilings are so much higher than my house in Montreal. I was able to even get this gigantic canvas artwork up there. And I always love to layer. You know, layering is one of the most important things in design, to make it feel like the decorator wasn't just there. It's always fun to sort of put, you know, many different layers together. So instead of just having the canvas up there, I had this wonderful little painting that sits in front of it. And then, of course, a stack of books and this fabulous little object that I bought in the Paris flea markets. And for good luck. It's so important to have a proper bathroom to luxuriate in. Come and see my fabulous bathroom. And even adding this little decorative mirror on the side was a really fun way to sort of break the balance and the symmetry of the space. It's kind of whimsical and it's kind of fun. So it's sort of like, you know, in design, I like to not take yourself too seriously. It's always fun to be a little bit playful. So it's sort of unexpected to place this other random little mirror to the side. It's kind of fun because it breaks off that really stern sense of symmetry. It's just fun. These were just some fabulous bowling pins that I found at the Paris flea market, and I was like, these are just so chic and so fun, and they add so much character and so much fun on them, just right there on the windowsill. Of course, the topiaries add a little bit of green into the space, and then the Roman shade is really a decorative Roman shade. It does come down, but I did want to have that chevron pattern coming through it to sort of repeat the idea of that herringbone and chevron that appears in the floors throughout the apartment. It's kind of a very solid detail. Also, one of my favorite things to do, and I do this all the time, is painting borders on architecture. So this is just a double line border, and here that actually is the same color as what we saw in the other rooms. It's that brown paper bag, sort of mustardy taupe color that comes through. And doing a double line border, it's very easy to do. A contractor and the painter just taped it off and did it, and it's very nice, and it gives the architecture a little bit of architecture where there is none. You know, there are no moldings on these doors. These are all flat panel doors, and just by adding those little lines, it really gave some structure and some design to them. This is the fabulous Paul Revere lantern that I purchased at Holly Hunt. It was one of my favorite light fixtures when it first came out. It's actually been around for a while now, but I thought the shape of it is so interesting. And again, I just love to treat my ceilings as a design element. So you'll see in this room, I actually painted the ceiling in this tealy blue-green, which repeats the green of the marble on the floors, that repeats the green that is in the dining room as well as in the powder room. So there's a connection between all the rooms throughout the apartment, which is wonderful. Even the ceiling of this little dressing area is mirrored for this cuckoo banana sort of effect. It's really great. And then I continued the wood floor right up until the edge of the dressing area, because that's the perfect transition between the stone floor of the bathroom and the wood floor of the closet. So the layering of the mirrors in this space is accentuated by this really eccentric duck foot mirror that I found actually in the south of France. And I was actually with friends down in Nice, and we were going in and out of some shops. And the minute I saw it, I said, oh, I have to have this for my bathroom. Isn't it just cute and whimsical? It's just great to, like, you know, counterbalance the seriousness of the architecture of the space with just something fun and friendly. Well, home is actually the most personal reflection of one's character and one's personality. So whenever I work on interiors for my clients, I always try and get to know them really well, only because I really want to draw out of them, you know, what their personal tastes are and what they like and what they don't like. Of course, when I do my own interiors, it's, you know, I'm very fastidious about exactly what I want to do. And, you know, my clients always remark, you know, you do your interiors, your own home so quickly. I'm like, well, you know, I walk into a space, it speaks to me, and the minute I come into the space, I know exactly what I would do for myself. And I tend to give my clients, you know, that effect too. I always tell them, this is what I would do, this is my house. But then I have to listen to them and take that, you know, the cue from their own personality and sort of develop the interior based on that. So home to me is a very personal thing. And being able to reflect one's personality, one's character. I love the idea that people look at my Instagram and they always recognize and realize an interior that's mine. And even though sometimes it's my own personal residence, or if it's a client residence, they can see my personal touch on people's homes, but they also remark that every interior that I do is different and distinctively so, because I like to really hone in on my clients and their character and their personalities.
On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're taking you to Paris to meet French art director Stéphanie Delpont, who invites us into her home in one of the most famous neighborhoods in the city. She has created an oasis that feels like a beautiful country home. She also takes us on a short walk down the street with her little dog Ferdinand to see her atelier and shows us a secret garden on the way. Enjoy this special episode. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, Homeworthy. My name is Stéphanie Delpont. Welcome to my house. Hi, my name is Stéphanie Delpont. I am an art director, a photographer, and a writer, and I live in Paris. So this is my home in Montmartre. So I've been living in this house for 5 years now. I live in this house with my little dog Ferdinand, you just see here. I founded my creative agency. I consult and create campaigns for luxury brands in the fashion and beauty sector in France and worldwide. I am also a photographer. I take photographs of Paris, and I have an upcoming exhibition next year in June. It will be a urban exhibition in central Paris, in Hôtel de Ville, so I'm excited for this. And I also finished this summer my first novel. It's going to be adapted on screen, and I'm working on the scenario of the series right now. So this is the living room. This is a wooden table I found on the attics. I like the fact that it's very simple, it's very countryside, you know. You have a sofa. I like to have really a lot of sofa so that I can sit a bit everywhere. It's cozy. I wanted it to be very cozy because it's a living room, and I wanted to have multiple sofas, you know, so that we can sit a bit everywhere. Now, I like to have friends over. I think the nice configuration is a dinner with 4 friends, and we can have, you know, we can sit here on the sofa, we can chat, and then we can have a second part of discussion or dessert just here in my boudoir. So I like that it's very fluid, you know, we can really move in the space very naturally. Yeah, actually, this has become his couch. So it's his own panier. Yeah, it's really mainly his place. Yeah, he likes his place because there is 2 floors, and so he can really live his life on the 2 floors. Sometimes he wants to be by himself there when I'm working upstairs. So it's a nice place for him. For the chairs, I like the fact that it's mix and matched. I don't like when things are too perfect, so yes, this is what I chose to have 2 different sets of chairs. And so this is my boudoir. It's the place where I write at night. It's a place where I read, and I also like to have teas here. To have tea here with friends. So how I found this house, it was 5 years ago. It was a night of insomnia, and I don't know, I typed on internet Paris house, and I thought I would find nothing. So I found this house, and first I literally thought it was a scam, right? Because it seemed a bit unreal. And so I nearly got panicked, and I sent messages to the real estate agent, and so I visited it the day after, and I completely fell in love with the place. It was the house of a painter, Maurice Utrillo, and it's just located in front of the vineyard. So you're really in the countryside. You don't really understand where you are, and you hear birds sing. So also it's a very feminine house, so it has something very poetic, and I fell in love with this. So it was love at first sight when I met this house. So here it's a room. It's a very literary room. Right, because it was made after Les Fables de La Fontaine. So I like that it's my literary space. So I really wanted like a very comfortable sofa. This sofa is very, very comfortable. You can nap here, you can just sit and read. And recently I put this fabric on. I like the contrast it gives. So I think it's interesting colors. And this house has been renovated by an Italian, and I like it because she put mainly Italian materials like marble, and even like, for instance, this boudoir, she painted this after the Fables de La Fontaine, so it's something very literary, and it's also very charged. It's very and I like the fact also with the molding, with the les moulures. She really recreated something very Parisian, nearly a cliché. So that's why I like in this house to put few furniture, because it's already so dense. When I arrived, I was thinking how I'm gonna furnish this place, because I didn't want it to be too much. It's already a lot, right? So I tried to decorate it in a countryside way, something with wooden tables, chairs I found on the attics. So I didn't want it to be too precise or too design it, because it would be just too much. So what I like here is in this boudoir you have the view on the Rue de Cortot. It's a very famous street. Recently you had Emily in Paris who shot a scene here. So yes, it has become even more famous. Yes, it's a very serene place to be at night, for instance, because when I'm reading here, I'm writing, I just like to have this scenery of this beautiful street empty. Very nice. And I love to go, it's Monk's house, and I think it's a beautiful book. You can see her house there. Where is it? Yes. she really also found a balance between the countryside. Yes, this is her place. Yes, this is her house. I really like, you know, it's very simple, but she painted everything in turquoise. So it's very simple place. So yeah, it was my inspiration also for this home, this literary place in the countryside. So this is a photograph I've taken. It's going to be the one which will open my urban exhibition. So you'll have the cover title, and this is photos, yes, I've taken in front of the Sacré-Cœur. This is I like it. There might be a bit of dust, but I like the fact that, you know, I can put books and say, oh yeah, I forgot about this one. And sometimes when I have few books I would like to read, I put it there so that I don't forget about them, and I say, I like this thing a lot. I would say my style when it comes to interior design is quite humble and simple. I find it's poetic to be humble and to have, yes. I wouldn't say it's, I'm not attracted to arrogant, you know, sometimes it's lavish or it's too much. I would feel suffocated by those interiors. So, yeah, I like simplicity, and I think it's where I can live and breathe the more naturally. If it's too sophisticated, I would feel like I'm in a hotel, or I really like it when I go to places, but my house has to be not neutral, but simple. Like I could not see myself in a fancy, with a lot of designers. I would feel it's too much for me. So let me take you upstairs to my bedroom. Viens, Ferdi. So this is my bedroom. So this is the biggest room of the house, and it's where I decided to put my room in, because it's the place where I find the most inspiration. Again, I wanted it to be very simple, so I just took a really comfortable bed, and I put a blanket I like, and that's it, you know, it does the trick. I had this enfilade, this Scandinavian. I think it has a lot of purity in the line, so I like the fact that it doesn't say too much. I always love to live with a Ficus lirata. I think they're always an elegant plant to have. And yes, here again, this is my desk. Very simple. I wanted to keep it very simple. I always like, you see in my office, I always like to work in front of a window, because I always like to have the windows always open. I always need a lot of fresh air, so I always put myself there. And also I installed a little garden, so I'm working in front of plants and trees. I like to have big tables where I can put my mess, because I do several things at the same time. I have different aspects to my job, so I like to have all my mess around me. And also I like to be surrounded by things I created. They might not be, I don't know, this is something I drew, this is a flower I drew, this is a picture I've taken. I don't know, I like, even this is a drawing, or I like to be surrounded with things I create, because I think it's the same energy. You can draw, paint something or write something. I like to be surrounded with that. So it's a choice I make. I'm not surrounded with art that is not made by me. It might seem a bit presumptuous, but it's just my way of getting nurtured and inspired. It's just, for instance, this is a little sketch, and again, I don't really I'm not really a good, but this is my dog. This is a picture I've taken that I quite like. Another from this girl, and it reminds me when I was a girl, I looked a bit like her. This is Niki de Saint-Phal, I really like. This is an herbier, and I always like to put flowers, my flowers in it. So where are they? Yeah, I say that, and then we can, I love ginkgo biloba, so it's also my herbier. I put my, it's another flowers I drew. This is a typewriter I use. I type it because I really like beautiful paper, and I like it. I think it's a beautiful object. Recently I a bit used it too much, so it's a bit slower, but yeah, I think it's the most immediate way to, you take a blank sheet of paper and you just type your thoughts, or I would write a poem, with my hands, and then I would type it. So I think it has more authenticity than just printing it. And this one, I bought it. I like the fact that it's all, again, like florals. I love to be surrounded with flowers. My source of inspiration, I grew up in the countryside in big houses, mansions, so my dad has really simple taste, and so I really tried to translate this countryside. In a country, you don't put really furniture that are too pompous or too eccentric. You just want something very simple, right? You just want your candles, your flowers, your books. So this is my bookshelf. I like it when it's open because I like to be really surrounded with books. I did a literary prep school, so I had to read a lot of books in my life. And these are all the books I read. I think books, they calm you. They put an atmosphere where you don't know really in which time you are. And also I like to buy old books that really had a life prior to me. I'm not a fan of buying new books. I'd rather go to the attics and just buy tons of books. And also they have this collection where they are just really a beautiful art object. And I like the smell. I like the fact that it has been read before me. It's like you have this chain, cycle, and you're just perpetuating the chain. So I've always bought my books secondhand. Voila. This is the most sentimental book because this was the first novel I really read when I was a child. It's from Théophile Gautier, Le Capitaine Fracasse. And it was reading that book that I fell in love with literature, and I fell in love with the object of books, where you can, at a young age, you can just immerse yourself and lose track of time. And I don't know, I became addict to books with that book. So he's the culprit. So this plaid is the same brand from the plaid I had downstairs in my boudoir on my sofa. It's an Italian, it's Lisa Corti, and I think she just makes amazing pattern. Like, this is my favorite, it's the most colorful. Yeah, this one is very floral, and I love the red and green and pink. The one downstairs is more black in it, so it's maybe more elegant, but this one is, and it's very, I really like it in my bedroom to have that. This house is unique because first of its history, it's filled with history, and you had artists living there, and so you feel it. and also you feel all the artists that lived in Montmartre, right? For instance, I just live 2 seconds away from the Musée Renoir, also called the Musée Montmartre, and I don't know, when I go there nearly every day, because there is an enchanting garden I love, you feel Renoir everywhere. You can understand why all those artists gathered in this place, because you have an atmosphere and a vibration you don't have anywhere else in Paris, I think. So, and you have Nerval, the place I work every day, it's just nearby, we'll go. You had Nerval living there. Nerval is one of my favorite poets, so you understand why they were all attracted to this village, right? So this is my favorite room of the house. This is the bathroom. I really like the fact that there are 2 windows in it, so it's it has a lot of light, and also I like the fact that it has both a shower and a bathtub. So I would tend to take baths at night with the open windows and the view on the Rue Cortot. Here I put a lot of plants too, because I want it to be protected because there are many people, right? But yes, this is my happy place. It's a place where I really like to be. I just like to put art. You know, this is dirty. This is a picture I've taken from my dog. But I really like, I used to be a maximalist. I used to have many products and everything out there, and with time I'm becoming more and more minimalist. I like when it's empty, because I can have more room in my head to think. I lived 10 years in a place where there were no window in the bathroom, and as I always like to open windows, I really like fresh air all the time. I live with open windows. Even in winter, I would have open windows. I need fresh air, so having 2 windows is a luxury. Here I installed a little garden, you know, suspended garden, because I had to be protected from the street. So now it's very serene at night, you know. It's a unique. It could have been the house could have been rearranged in another way, right? Maybe put just a room here, and there would be the living room. I don't know, but it's it's a luxury to have 2 windows in a bathroom, a bathtub, and a shower. But it's also, I always like to take this time for me, you know, as a ritual, a ceremonial, to really center myself. And so I really spend time in my bathroom, and I enjoy to be here. So the challenge that brings this house is that it's on 2 floors, and it's on the main floor, right? So when you enter, you know, you're just coming from the street. So a first floor is not that luminous. There is no much light. So that's how also it's mainly a floor where I'm more, I enjoy more at night. That's why also I go and work just a few blocks away in my atelier, because here you cannot really work in mornings, and I'm very sensitive to light. So this was the biggest challenge for me. It was important not to judge the space by the light of the first floor. The second floor is brighter, and it's a place I tend to go more in the mornings or afternoon, but at night it's really where I spend most of my time. So now we are in the garden of the Atelier I have upstairs, and it's a very special place because it's really an immersion in nature and the countryside. So I'll show you around. and it's just 2 seconds from where I live, so it's very practical. So I found this place a couple of months ago, and it was a place I never been to in Montmartre. It's a very secret place, and when I found this space, I fell in love. And it's very quiet because you have this private garden, so I felt I was in the countryside, but here even more. It's a very sacred, secret place. So this is my where I work. This is my atelier, just near my place, and it's a very calm place, and we have the view on the garden. So it's a very calm, and I really like. It's very bright, so I love to sit here and just write. I like that it's very white, filled with light, and I like also to be surrounded with photographs or drawings or paintings I did. I like the fact that it's just on a garden, so I always let the windows open, and I worked with the fresh air and the silence. So it's very, very nice, very kind, very smooth, and filled with light. It was really important for me because I needed a separate place to really create, and the atmosphere here is very, it's very peaceful. And I like to have messy. I like that it's a bit messy. It's important to have a mess for me. Here again, I just imagine a space where there was just one desk, a wooden desk, from an architect. So no, I wanted a place where I could put my, like stones, I wanted my secret cabinet. So this is the Palo Santo, the candles, and this is also my mess, with when I paint or all my, it's my creative cabinet. It's, let's say, my recreational place. It's a place where I can do anything I want. These are my photographs. Yes, this place is very, again, very literary, because it has a literature background, because my favorite poet, Nerval, lived in this building. So it's a very calm and enchanting place where it's very vibrant to create. Yes, and you have the view on the Sacré-Cœur. So it's a very nice place. What I love the most about the home is that this house is that I never really realize I'm in Paris. I always love to not to know whether I'm in a countryside or I'm in Paris. So this is what I like, is I'm a bit lost in translation in that place. You could be, in Normandy, or you could be where I grew up. So I'm the most grateful about this place, is that it brings me in a place where I don't really know where I am. So this is my kitchen. I'm not really a cook, so I don't spend much time in my kitchen. I like to eat outside. I like to be, again, surrounded with plants, with art. And this is a painting from my great grandfather, and it's funny because he drew a Cocker Spaniel, and we all in the family we always have Cocker Spaniels. This is a book from La Cuisinière Parisienne. I never really apply because I don't really cook. And this one is a photo I like. I like to take photos in the metro, and I love the grace of the characters I see in the metro. And this one, yes, is I like the composition. So it's a photo I really have a strong attachment to. Yes, I like to make tea. So this is a tea that I bought it at the attics again. And this one I bought it when I was in Bali. I like, it's called Cisco from the Sun. I like the ceramic. For me, the house is really a shelter. So, and it has to be vibrant. Because if I don't feel I'm gonna write or paint, or it has to be, it has to put me in motion. So it's not just a beautiful, serene place. It has to inspire me. Thank you very much for having me today. I hope this tour of Montmartre was enjoyable to you, and maybe see you next time when you're in Paris.
Hello Homeworthy, welcome to my house in Paris. I'm Emma Donsberg.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Emma Donsberg and I'm an interior and furniture designer based in Paris. So it's a typical Haussmannian house, apartment actually, in Paris. It's in the second floor, so ceiling heights are a little bit higher than the other floor, and I remodeled it entirely. So I chose this home because I actually needed an area where I can entertain, so I needed a large entertainment area, which is the living room and dining room. And I really wanted ceiling height that were important, about a 4-meter height. That really were the most important things about this house. I love to collect animals, actually, in sculptures and ceramics. Here you have a unicorn made of ceramic. The artist is Sarah de Fendal. She's a French artist, and she does these characters that looks like they come from a dream, actually, and I love it. I find it very interesting. And here you have a painting of Esther Malangou. Esther Malangou is a very famous South African artist. She's in her 80s now. And I love the geometrical pattern at the entrance and the colors. I think it's very welcoming to the space, and that's why I picked it. Also the round shape I liked. I wanted to put a small painting here because I didn't want the space to be too crowded. And I found this amazing artwork of Anna Jung-seo, who is a Korean artist who lives in London. I found it in Art Basel, Miami, 2 years ago actually. And it's a landscape, so it goes very well actually with my work. And then Clotilde Jimenez here. Clotilde is a fantastic artist who lives in Mexico, and he does some collage. I found them very interesting. And you have the gallery here that continues, goes to the kitchen actually. It's not that big, but I wanted to do like something spectacular with paintings. So I put them very close to each other, and it's like a kind of an arty gallery with work of Marcela Barcelo, who I collect, and Ileana Magoda, who is an artist I represent. So the overall style of the home is cozy and contemporary, also very elegant. It's also a space where the forms are very organic. It makes people feel very comfortable and welcomed in the space, instead of having a right angle that kind of attack people in a way. So the living room, I wanted to use actually the circle that was authentic in the ceiling, and I recreated it in the floor plan, meaning that I actually drew the sofa for this space. Now I'm editing it, but it was drawn for this space to replicate the curve of the ceiling. The rug is actually also a circular rug, but it's a collaboration with Atelier, and we use the top of my mushrooms. So we use the shape of the top of the mushroom and also the engravement, and we did it in a rug with silk and wool. So this is a wave sofa. It's also very nice from the back because the curves goes all the way to the floor. And then we have the you and me table that actually are very modular, so which is really nice because depending on your feeling, if you have a crowded room or less people in the room, you can move the table and make them change the mood of the space. I also put some of the mushrooms that I designed, and I wanted to add some vintage pieces, so I added these 3 pieces. The chair and the table from Adochal, and of course adding always some little sculptures, vases, mostly in ceramic, and paintings, of course. Also, the funny detail here is that the TV is hidden behind the screen, so you can move the screen and have the TV behind, because I don't really like TVs in a room, so I wanted to hide it. And then we have this little nest, which is a work of Kawamata, who is a Japanese artist, and the tree, because I wanted it to feel like nature. The whole space is really like an extension of the trees outside. So it's really looks like a home. The lights are made in bronze. They are sculptural pieces. I call them a light sculpture. And they're called the cloud sconces, and you don't need anything else on the wall. It makes it very present. And then I put a painting of Ileana Magoda on the floor, under the light, and this beautiful light, standing light that I created with Abel Carcamo, who is a Chilean sculptor. It's a collaboration we did together. So the mushrooms were my first pieces, actually. I didn't know that I was going to do a furniture collection, and I started with those for fun. They're made of bronze, and then the top is textured and engraved with acid, so it looks like this kind of pattern on the top. It's very unique. I actually made them also in little ones as collectibles, and we have also them in ceramic, which is a small one here in different colors. So here. This is Julius. He's my baby, the king of the house. Number bush. It actually goes very well with the color. I didn't make it in purpose, to be honest. I'm probably attracted to this color, but yeah. Namo namo. Up, up, up. He just had a haircut too. And he loves actually to sit in the middle of the tables. For the art, I'm really attracted to it. There is no, it's just a matter of feeling. I also like to meet the artists, because I want the person to be normally a good person. I don't want on my wall like a bad energy. So I met most of the artists that are exhibited here. Here, I created this fireplace because the wall was completely empty. I needed to put structure in this side, in this wall, in this room. Actually, I wanted to have it a little bit more structured. So what I did is that I created this long fireplace where I could also again exhibit some vases and ceramics, which is very useful. I have 2 right angles in this apartment. This right angle and then the one on the heater. They are the only 2 in the apartment. So I was first an interior designer, and I didn't think I was going to do design pieces, to be honest. But then in 2017, I really wanted to do mushrooms table. I'm actually allergic to mushrooms, so I don't know where it comes from. But and then COVID came, and I really needed to do something, and also I needed to furnish my apartment. So I started designing pieces, furniture pieces, and that's how my whole journey in design started. The dining room is actually the extension of the living room. So here is the dining room, which I wanted it again to welcome people, to feel cozy. So I use this big table that I designed. It's called the galley table, where you can see the legs. They are made of sculpted marble. It's a black marble, and then the craftsman sculpted it in Italy. And the tray is made in France of solid oak. And they're surrounded by the cloth chairs. I designed the cloth chairs with 3 different backs because I don't like when you have too many chairs that it looks like all the same chairs with the same fabric. So which I loved here is the different fabric and the different backs. Of course, we have ceramics all around the space, and this big llama from Laurent Dufault with a fantastic artist. And I wanted to put it here. I think it's protecting us here from when we work and eat. So it's kind of like a protector. And then I designed the fireplace. I actually went to pick the stone in Carrara in Italy. It's made of travertine, and it's 1 piece of travertine. And the fact that there is no joint, it makes it really organic and nice. And then we have on the top the lever mirror. The lever mirror is made of ceramic. It's cracked ceramic. I actually edited it as well. And I wanted a huge mirror to reflect the space, to make it bigger. So we made this piece again for the space, and now we have clients who want it, so we edited it. It's surrounded by books, which for me is of course I read them, but they're also an element of decor. I classified them with colors, put them in horizontal, so it's more soothing for the eye. You can see also with vases and sculptures, again with the animal theme. In this corner we have the club table in a large size with it's a grey travertine. At the entrance it's a pink one. It's a grey travertine. And it's kind of, I don't know, I love this table. I find it has a real presence. I put some drawings of Ileana Magoda on the top of it, and then the Piazza book, the Piazza catalogs, which for auction I look at. Another painting of Esther Malangou and vases and sculptures. The middle piece I just found, it's a ceramist called Perrine Bouty. She's French. She actually just did the windows of Hermès in Paris, and I found it belonged here, and it had to be in the middle of the table. It's just natural. I mean, I'm attracted to it. I like stones. I like ceramics. I like them matte, mostly matte. I don't know, they speak to me, and it attracts me, and I started to collect little by little. My friend has a beautiful ceramic gallery in Paris called the Fever Fils, and I go there all the time, and I get to pick the pieces first, so it's nice. The galley table, I made the design of the legs on the top in a joint, so it shows that if the legs were coming on the top, it's actually the joint. So all the pieces actually, I'm opening a gallery in Paris in October, so all those pieces will be seen at the gallery in the 7, not far from here actually. In real life, we work from here with my team. It's actually our working area. Now we will be working from the gallery that I'm opening, and we will actually have the same table at the gallery with just a different finish from the legs. They will be white, so they will be like sculpted in white on a white stone. And of course the black ones are also available. What I love about the space is that all the rooms are kind of open to each other, which makes it welcoming for people. I don't want it to be closed with doors. There was a structural wall here actually, and then I broke it. And if you want, you can open or close. I created these doors, these amazing doors made of pine wood. And you can close or open the space depending on if you have a guest and then you arrive to the kitchen. I really love my kitchen. I love when I have friends coming and cooking and I can be with them because it's an open kitchen to the dining area. Also the dining area is where we work, and so all my team is there every day, and it's really nice to have the kitchen next to it so we can also cook at the same time. So welcome to the kitchen. I wanted a kitchen island. I always wanted it. I always wanted one. So we created this this island with a stone from Carrara from the top, and then the bottom is ceramic tiles. I love the color. I wanted to bring a green color here to make the space pop up, and I found it very interesting to put my mushroom, my stools, the cep stools around it. Those stools are made of, they're handmade actually, so each one is different from the other. They are made of ceramic, and I love the different colors of blue and kind of like coming red, green. Those elements make the space very warm actually. And then I put, of course, because I have to, some ceramic sculptures from different artists. Again, you see Atelier here. Here also with the central piece with the monkeys. Carafe, also very fun, made of animals. So again, it speaks to me, and I love them. You can see the little monkey, and then the zebra and the bird. Then the wine holder is a piece I found at the flea market. It's actually from the 18th century, 17th or 18th century. It's silver. And you have the flower that I just got from a French ceramist. On the island I have vases. I wanted to put green vases, green or blue, from Karen Swami, who is a friend of mine and an amazing ceramist. Then you have the little monkey, again my animal collection, with also from South Africa are the little glass animals. For the salt and pepper, I have the seashell. I went to South Africa last year for the art fair, and I loved it, and I spent some time looking for artists and ceramists, and then I met the people from Ardmore, and we decided to collaborate on some pieces. So it was a really nice trip. I loved it. Really loved the country, and I loved Cape Town. It was really nice. Then here I have the work of Marcela Barcelo, who I really love. I love the colors. I love the fact that it's a diptych. So it's not one static piece again. It's like, for example, with my cep stools, I did two different sizes. I have the smaller and the larger one. I love to mix things, really. It's really natural to me to mix things. It's very natural I don't know, it called me, and I felt like it had to be here. And I didn't want to have few little pieces. I wanted like this big piece here to make the space bigger actually. So yeah, I designed the whole kitchen. I didn't want to be too crowded, so I needed to have like some space in the middle of the cabinets. And why not exhibiting ceramics, because I need also exhibition space here. I'm going to end up putting some paintings on the ceiling if I continue. So yeah, and then of course the colors needed to be either white, blue or green to continue the color theme here. I wanted again some shelves to exhibit the ceramics, because I don't know what to put to exhibit them, so we created those shelves. Instead of having a white wall, it would be much nicer. To be convenient for me, I needed like also. So the marble is from Carrara. It's called the Breccia, and it's the same that I used on the island and in the kitchen counter. So welcome to the bedroom, the master bedroom. I wanted it to be very peaceful and warm. So I wanted it to be peaceful and warm. I actually created those shelves, those little niche to put my crystal collection. I have a crystal collection. And then I designed the nightstands and the headboard. But I put the light of Ingo Maurer that are vintage, and they give it like a very warm light, very cozy feeling with the painting of Sasha Ferrer, who is a friend of mine. I have this vase that an artist in LA made just for me, because I put Julius the cat on it. So I found it funny. The lamps are vintage, made of ceramic, and then the curtains are from, the fabric is from Fortuny, and I love the color. I found it very subtle, very warm. They're very elegant. I also bought the curtain holders but the curtain holder are also like bring like this little like pink tone, and then the chair is I designed the chair. I actually have another one that is smaller that I don't have here, but yeah. And then the tipi table. The tipi table is one of my last table. It's also each piece is different because it's handmade, so each piece is unique, made of ceramic, hand-painted ceramic, and on the top of it is a vintage lamp from Italy. I put the TV on the shelves in the middle, and then you have those vintage mirrors from Mite Espert, some funny stuffed animal that I found in Mexico that I really found cute. And then a print from Ellie Barker. The sheets from Frette, and this little blanket that I found online. I really love the color, and here's a Frette blanket. And then you have here, I restricted the space, so I actually was a bathroom instead of the closet, and then a room. I will structure the space so we have more place to put the clothes here. Here I put a closet. I have a walk-in closet and a closed closet here. So here you go from the bedroom to the walk-in closet to the bathroom. My go-to design tip, I would say, I don't like to paint in many colors rooms. I like it to be kind of neutral and bring colors with painting and sculptures. I think it's easier to live like this instead of having a very strong color, especially in a dining area or living room area. Special door for the bathroom that I made with a craftsman. I mean, the craftsman made it in glass. It's a very nice structured glass, framed with brass. And then here, welcome to the bathroom. So this is a master bathroom. I created this one long sink from onyx, and I mixed onyx travertine and ceramic in the bathroom. So you can see the onyx sink with the travertine wall and the ceramic sconces that I designed. And I love those three materials together. They're very healthy and they look very natural. I also decided to create the shower with this travertine divider that made of solid one stone. Actually, I bought the block of stone and we carved it. So the shower is behind it, and we put a glass that is gradient, so you don't see the person who takes a shower from behind. Little niches where you put. I put this little sculpture of the elephant that I found at a vintage store. Corals that I found in Turkey, and little perfumes. And then the shower behind. Alors attends, pour le shower, je vais devoir peut-être t'enlever les pots, c'est bon? And it's a white travertine that I found also in Carrara. The same block that I used for the fireplaces and the entrance floor. And I decided to paint the ceiling actually in kind of a reddish tone to bring warmth to the space. I found that the color was looked very well, was very nice. They're symmetrical, and the door is also has the travertine on it to make it longer. I found it also in Carrara, onyx, and it's a white onyx. It's made also of travertine. I put heated floor, so it's nice when you come out of the shower or the bathtub. And this bathtub has I love the shape of the bathtub because it looks a little bit like vintage. Home is where the heart is. So home is my place where I feel safe, and it's very important that it makes me, it feels good when I'm in it, and I feel protected in it. Thank you so much, Homeworthy, for visiting my space in Paris. I'll see you soon. Bye bye. Have a good day. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.